Okay, here I am. I am on my YouTube, finally. So thank you for joining me. Today is Monday, August 29th. It is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Coming at you from the Midwest of America. I have got some things to say about the Kiely Rodni case. I have been thinking about starting my YouTube channel for probably over a year, maybe two, definitely one. Kind of thought maybe I'll never do it. That's okay. You know, who wants to deal with all the hate and all that stuff? I'm not good with technology. But this Kiely Rodni is just really speaking to my heart. Through this case, I have found Ryan Upchurch, who I want to give a huge shout out to. I think he's phenomenal. He's an artist. He's a person. I am not, I don't want to say anything negative about him. I disagree with his most recent video that he just put out, saying that Kiely Rodni doesn't exist. So I went to one of the channels that he gives a shout out to. I think it's called Behind the Wall. And I was listening to her for a while, and I liked the way she spoke about that and him, because she also doesn't agree with him, but that's okay. We're not all gonna agree on everything. Honestly, I might not agree with what I say tonight, right? I mean, new information comes out or you think of something new. I want to give a shout out to some of my favorite creators. And like I said, I'm new to Ryan Upchurch, and I think he's great. I hope that he's speaking metaphorically and or that he's testing people. Just like he tested people when he put the photograph, when he Instagram messaged it to the dude, the photo of Ronnie's shoes without saying any words at all. And the guy was like, "Oh, dude, those are Ronnie's shoes." I mean, that was just so funny. Like, could I do a Ryan Upchurch impersonation? I don't think I could do him justice. But he's just like, "How did you know those are Ronnie's shoes? Did you make Ronnie?" Too flippin' funny. He's a comedian as well as a musician. And I just think he's cool. I really do. So I'm going to give a huge shout out to Plunder, Paula at Plunder. You know I love you. She does solid work, solid work. And she's kind of how I fell into this whole true crime thing. Another one of my huge shout outs is to What's the Obsession? Kelly, thank you. She's had me be a special guest on her show once, and on discussion panels a couple of times. So I got to break my ice with YouTube, and you know, I'm sure it's a huge learning curve. So here I am learning as I go. That's all we're ever doing. Let me say a little bit about myself. I have a master's degree in art therapy and marriage and family therapy. I've done a lot of work in the courts with mental health, with family law, with lawsuits, testifying as an expert witness, other things. Let me just say, somebody very close to me in my family is a law enforcement officer. So I do need to be careful about that. But there's a code of silence with law enforcement that needs to be there. It absolutely needs to be there for the integrity of law enforcement and for obviously for investigations when they're active. However, there is a shroud of secrecy that does not need to be there. Not only does it not need to be there, it's illegal. We live in America. It's a democracy. Transparency is the law with public entities, and law enforcement is there to protect and serve the public that pays them. So that's what they need to do. So, you know, getting back onto this Kiely Rodni case, I absolutely believe that Kiely Rodni is a real person, and is and was. What a tragic event. whether she drove herself into the water sober, drunk, drugged, or other sundry list of nefarious things that could have happened and people have been kind of hinting to all along. You got to pay attention to what people say, because people choose specific words for a reason. I just want to say that me breaking into YouTube feels like the right thing to do. I honestly feel like I can help make the world a better place with a good YouTube channel. And I know that might sound silly. Here, let me get that light out of the way. There's light everywhere. I should probably fix that. Here, I can go maybe over this way. There, that's probably better. And now you can see me better. Because I'm not trying to hide with my hat. I just, my hair's all funkadelic. And there's just never the perfect time to put yourself out there for the public to, look at or talk about or whatever. So, back to this poor, unfortunate situation. And I think we're about a week out from, it's been storming out there and the sun is just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. This is Ohio. And, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. Anyway, she was going to be 17 next month. And starting college, maybe at her local community college, at Sierra College, maybe with plans to go to UC Santa Cruz, I gather. She was definitely a spitfire, you can tell. She had everything going for her. Beautiful, smart, friendly, independent and strong and silly. I mean, you see all these things, and ridiculously talented too. I've watched some of her videos, singing and playing instruments. And if you don't cry when you watch those videos, I don't know. I try not to, but it's rough, especially the more recent ones. When she was little and cute, it's easier to be removed from the tragedy of late. But with the recent ones, you're just like, what was this film? Like 3 months ago? And now that's it? I just want to say again and again, my heart breaks for her family. I cannot imagine whatever the investigation report results are in the end. My heart breaks for the family, okay? I also don't think the mother did anything wrong at all. And anybody who wants to challenge me on that, take it somewhere else. Thank you anyway. I'm a mother of 4. There's different parenting styles. There's different events. There's different kids. Like, you just don't know. You don't know Kylie. You don't know her mom. You don't know the situation leading up to this tragic night. These people keep saying, oh, she just crashed her car. She just crashed her car. It's so dark out there. It's so dark. You can't see anything. Right. I know, I've been out there. I used to ski at North Star as often as I could. And the lodge that we stayed in on Donner Lake was not far from the Lost Trail Lodge that her family built and is selling now. Her granddaddy built that for her mother and her family to live in and take care of. When Kylie was 7, they moved in. And prior to that, he had a B&B in Montana, I believe. Prior to that, he owned a water company in Lake Tahoe for a very long time. So Kylie's 3rd generation to Tahoe. These people have raised her, teaching her about the dark, because she lives out there in the middle of the sticks where it is darker than dark every day, night. This is not new to her. We also had a 3/4 moon that night. So, the moon could have been behind the trees or behind a cloud. You know what? Yeah, it could have been. And you know what? The girl knew how to drive. She knew how to drive on dirt, gravel, rock roads by the water's edge. That's where she learned how to drive. That's where she drove every day. If you know the road from Donner Memorial Park, I think it's called Cold Creek Road or Cold Stream Road, that goes right to her house. It's a treacherous road. This is where she learned how to drive. This is where she drove every day. So for her to be out there at midnight in the dark is no big deal. I don't even want to speculate whether she had any substances on board. Let's just wait until we get the toxicology results. I know it's hard. And in all honesty, hey, these are teenagers at a party. I mean, that's what it is, right? So, this news, what was in the news for the first 2 weeks of the case? The hoodie, the freaking black hoodie with the Lana Del Rey. What did it say? You don't want to be forgotten, you just want to disappear. My opinion is that black hoodie was mentioned by one of the kids involved to make it look like maybe she wandered off, maybe it was a suicide. Maybe the person who owns the black hoodie is implicated or involved. And I think it's been alleged that the black hoodie belongs to Mags. Let's talk about the necklaces. I have this cool necklace that I made out of a couple of earrings that I lost the mates to. It's a blue crystal, cut crystal, and titanium. So those were both earrings. I couldn't bear to get rid of them, and finally I came up with this idea, put them together, made a little necklace, which I love. So I used to be a jewelry designer. Jewelry is very important to me, and it looks like it was important to Kylie too. She wore a lot of big earrings. She had that triple necklace. I'm curious who gave her the necklace. Was that something she bought for herself? Was that a gift from her mom or her boyfriend or dad or friend, granddad? We don't know. Or I don't know. Maybe, I'm sure some people know. So she wore the necklace a lot right up until that day. And they kept talking about the necklace, like as if we were going to find the necklace laying in the sand or something. I don't know. I don't know what the deal with the necklace was or is. But what I do know is that Mags and Sammy have matching necklaces. We've all done that, us girls, right? Matching bracelets, matching earrings, matching outfits, matching necklaces. That's something you do with your BFF. So interesting that Mags and Sammy have matching necklaces. Kylie has a necklace that is unique, right? So we don't know where that necklace is or was. We just know that they talked about it a lot, and I just thought it was fascinating that they kept talking about it. And then you start to notice that these two other girls have matching necklaces. And actually, let me give credit to my sister who pointed that out to me as well. I mean, I had already been thinking it, but she put it into words because we think alike. And let's see. So the day that they mentioned, forget about that black hoodie. We got a white hoodie. It has some other weird words on it. It just says Odd Future. And I had never heard of this artist. I'm sure that they're very popular. Oh, where's my water? Here, sorry. I'd never heard of this Odd Future, but I thought, that's weird to go from a sweatshirt that says, what? To that? You don't want to be forgotten, you just want to disappear, to Odd Future. And the difference is black and white, like literally. It's not like you got them confused because they were both black or they were both white or one was gray and one was a shade lighter. Unbelievable. The day that news came out, I have to tell you, I felt like I was going to vomit. And that lasted for like a week. And that gut feeling, I'll say what I think it is. I could be incorrect, Happy to be incorrect. But my gut feeling was that I knew I'd been lied to. I knew I'd been lied to by whoever put that black hoodie into the mix. And then as far as the white hoodie, it seems like it might belong to Kylie. But again, that would be interesting. Who does it belong to? Drink your water, everybody, like Christina Randall says. She's one of my faves. Okay. And, nobody needs the criticism. Nobody needs it. Constructive criticism, that's always good. That's always good. So I just wanted to go back to giving a shout out to Grizzly Gazelle. Is that how you say her name? She's awesome. Grizzly True Crime. And Armchair Detective, Michelle After Dark, True Crime Rocket Science, Pascal Show. I am brand new to CNY Family and Sweetie Pilo too. Brand new to those. Zav Girl, awesome. 10 to Life, solid. There's so many good ones. And like anything, take your information, gather it up, gather it from your YouTube channels, gather it from your files. I've learned how to do that. Public records request? Do it. All you gotta do is look on Google, find out who you contact, you shoot them an email and say, I'd like this document, please. And they'll probably email you back and say, well, why? But you don't have to give a reason. And you don't even have to tell them who you are or what you're gonna do with it. But, you can if you want. It's just that it's good to know the law and to know your rights, because the first time I ever got a public record, I requested it in person and I knew my rights. And I walked in and they asked me, are you a family member? And I said, no. And they said, are you with the media? And I said, nope. And they went and got it. That was it. And I also knew I didn't have to sign my name, and they asked me to sign my name, and I didn't sign it Mickey Mouse. I signed it with my real name, and that was my first public records request. We all need to be making public records requests on Gabby Petito. The female ranger that was out speaking with her on August 12th, the day that her and Brian were pulled over. That fateful day. The female ranger's body cam has never been released to the public. Paula Plunder she's sharp as it gets, and she has tried to get it, and I've tried to get it, and some other people have tried to get it. To my knowledge, it's not been released yet. I don't even think I got a response from them, which is completely unprofessional. That's not how you do it. You're a public resource, you're a public service, you're a public servant, and the public is who you're serving. So Joe Public asked you for something, you need to respond, even if you're just going to respond and say, no thanks, no response. You just put that in an email. I got your email, I have no response for you, right? Okay, so back to Kylie. And yeah, there are similarities. Man, I had not thought about it. These poor, beautiful young women and their poor families. It's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous for anybody who comes into harm's way. And especially when there's foul play, especially when things aren't done right. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But we all need to own up to those mistakes and learn from those mistakes, right? Anyway, I don't want to be on a soapbox. I just want to tell you what some of my thoughts are. I wrote them down. I made a video a couple days ago. I couldn't find my freaking notes. And so maybe I'll post that one. Maybe I won't. It's pretty bad. Anyway, here we go. The code of silence in a small town. We all know what that's like, right? I mean, even those of us that aren't from small towns, that are in big cities, you hear about it. It's kind of like a cliche. It's true. Small town People don't talk. Here, let me take my glasses off so I'm not like shining all that light. My face is all shiny. Okay, I'm gonna go with makeup next time. Okay, now can I see? So that nausea, back to that. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. I'm just not professional yet. I'm working on it. But also, I want to be me. I want to be candid. I don't want to be something that I'm not, right? I'm just a middle-aged woman with 4 children. Family is military, also law enforcement. I have had a lot of success as an artist and as an entrepreneur, basically. And then I've been so fortunate to raise 4 beautiful, healthy kids. I'll just say age ranges from 10 to 20, 2 boys, 2 girls. Also very fortunate to have 1 baby daddy. Life is complicated, even when you're not using drugs, not using alcohol, trying to do everything right, keeping it simple. It gets nuts, right? And it's dangerous. And you just got to be so careful. And I want to say to you kids out there, be careful who you choose as friends. You got to be careful who you choose to hang out with. This situation speaks for itself. These people were not Kylie's friends. Let me just break it down. Kylie had plans with her mother that day, right? She was going to go to a car show in Reno or something like that, antique car show. She went and made creme brulee, allegedly, with Kate, and then she got talked into going to this party. She drove Mags there. Mags bails in 10 minutes. Oh, but Sammy picks up right there and is like glued to her hip, right, for the whole night. And they peed together and they drank together and they broke off together to talk to other people. They came right back to each other. And then eventually Sammy's ride was going to leave. And wait a second, doesn't she have her own car? She did a half-hour interview with All-American Dream Chaser in the driver's seat of a car. Why didn't she take that car to the party? Did she take that car to the party? Holy kaboli. Did she need a ride? Did she get a ride? She could have walked there for all we know. I mean, I've been around that area and I've been looking at the maps lately. Her house, well, where Kylie's house is on the other side of Donner Lake is a good half hour or more. I'm pretty sure where Sammy lives is up closer in, kind of the other direction, like 20 minutes maybe. I don't know. I mean, she said, oh, we're on the 89 right now. I'm driving. No, I'm not. I'm in the passenger seat. Come on, man. I gotta say something about that too, as a parent. My guess, her parents are lawyer and private investigator, and they own their own PI firm right there in Truckee. My guess is that they might have said, don't talk to anybody. And she's just like, I'm 18, I do what I want, whatever. That's from a South Park, if you didn't catch it. Anyway, you got to be careful what you say. Everybody, all the time, even before law enforcement experience, I've always said and lived by these words. Not that I haven't messed up. Everything you say can and will be used against you. Be careful with your words, okay? Again, I'm not trying to be on no soapbox, but hey, I am 55. I have a little bit of life experience under my belt. I've been around. I've done a few things. I've lived coast to coast. I've lived on the East Coast and the West Coast and Midwest, and, I'm an artist and all that. So, back to the notes. Okay. People disappear from parties a lot. We don't hear about it in the news. It's usually black people in the ghetto, to my understanding. But people disappear at parties all the time. People get shot at parties. People get stabbed at parties, and nobody saw anything. This is typical. Typical. What are we, in like the Truckee ghetto? The like rich white folk ghetto? And on that note, Kylie looks so cute that night. I love her outfit. I love the leotard with the skin showing on the hip and the green Dickies. I don't know if they're Dickies or Carhartts. I haven't really tried to figure that out, but they keep saying Dickies, so we'll just go with that. She looks beautiful, right? But what I do know about Dickies, especially in the Bay Area, is they're gangster related. So I don't know if, teenagers like to try to be a little badass with their gangster stuff. I don't know if there's any element of that with these people that came from far away from these big cities, blah, 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 blah. Or if there's any kind of gang element in the Tahoe, Truckee area. I would imagine with the interstate running through there and all that money running through there could be. It's weird stuff. And let's see. If only I could see with out these. So who knows the answer to this question? Has it been confirmed that Jagger and Sammy ever dated? Because if they did, even just once, that has its own dynamic, right? Also, were Jagger and Kylie broken up or not broken up? It sounds like they were broken up. Then they weren't, and then they were, and then they weren't. I've been there. Some of it's immaterial. It's kind of the same either way. But it's very relevant what was going on in a person's life up until they went missing or up until they're expired. It's extremely important. Your timeline. Okay? And criminals typically try to throw the timeline off. Brian Laundrie, for example, with his texts to the mother. That kind of thing is so typical because we all know that the first 48 hours after a crime are the most crucial for gathering evidence. And if nobody knows of a crime for 48 hours, you're home free to some degree. Compare that to Chris Watts, right? Whoa, he wasn't expecting that. See, that's a real friend. The friend that drops you off at home at 2 a.m. and then is trying to find you to make sure you get to your doctor's appointment. And calling the police when they're not finding anything out and your shoes are there and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's a whole nother can of worms. So, was there a party? Was there a party? I'm going to bet that there was a gathering of sorts. It could have been a party. It could have been planned for a day, a week, a month. Ronnie said it was like, a couple of months. It was circulating around at the Sierra College. And yeah, there were people from school there, he said. That was funny as heck when Ryan Upchurch is breaking that down. And he's like, what school do you go to, Ronnie? That's a slip up, There were people from school. I saw people from school. Oh, really? Like back when you were in school 10 years ago? Or right now? Anyway, these people, the Ronnie, that girl, she makes me sick. We'll get there in a minute. Exanime. It's Xanime. It's anime. Exanime. Anime with an X. Get it? It's gross. It's absolutely sick. Okay, so we don't know who is fighting at this party, if there was a party and if there were fights. Sammy drops that information and then she just blows right past it. Oh yeah, there were fights. Sometimes there's a fight about who won, but not that night. Not that night. No fight that night about who won. Very interesting, okay? But she also used those fighting words later, where she said, Kylie, we know you're out there. She's a fighter. Kylie, keep fighting. We're going to find you. She was really trying to paint a picture that this friend got abducted by all these boogeymen at the party that were shoving drugs in her face. God. And I heard somewhere on these YouTube things about a gated community that her vehicle was last spotted at, maybe that night. I don't know. I'm not going to go off on that. I'll just leave it. But I've covered a lot of this. Okay, here we go. Somebody said something about maybe a boat dragged the car out. That's very, very possible. You know, people that live on lakes, people that have boats, that's just part of life. You just do things with your boat like you would a car or like you would on your feet. It's just another mode of transportation. Sorry about the dog barking. So one of the things that I do want to kind of go off on is something that the CNY, Crosby Nash Young is how I remember it. So CNY. Okay. CNY family discovered the document, the affidavit of this most despicable Wayne Wu, the sheriff of Placer County. This document is dated May 15th, 2020. An affidavit is a sworn statement that what you're alleging is true. So they're kind of considered fact when they're on a lawyer's letterhead and you're giving it to the court, because you're basically saying, this is true, or I know you can put me in jail for a long time, okay? So in this 24-page affidavit, and I honestly haven't read the whole thing. I just couldn't. I'm just like, oh my God. This was before the election. I don't know exactly when their election was. I'm going to guess in May. Anyway, long story short, this affidavit alleges that he had statutory rape with a 16-year-old who was maybe an adventurer or an explorer with their sheriff's department. Because they made a claim that, we thought she was 18 because of some piece of paper we found from when she was the explorer with the sheriff's department. Whatever. It alleges in this affidavit that not only did he impregnate her, he orchestrated an abortion for this kid too. So this guy, Wayne Wu, needs to be resigned at the very least. He was in charge of the Kylie Rodney missing persons case for at least the first 2 weeks, up until the day that Adventures with Purpose, did I say it right? Adventures with Purpose, when they discovered the body in Placer Lake that they were told not to search, okay? To break that down as much as I've been able to figure out, because I've watched a lot of stuff around that, that's very important, and those guys are fabulous. Right? They're not in it for anything except helping people with real life. So they found that body in 35 minutes of getting out there that day. It wasn't their first day, it was their second day. But it was their first day there. So they had spent the first day, it seems, going to other places. You know, the list that the law enforcement had given them of good places to check. Good place to not check, this lake that we've checked again and again and again and again, and then some more. So definitely don't check here, okay? So they were out there for a day, probably feeling lost in the woods, right? I mean, whoa, it's a big place. It's a very, very big place. And there's, limited manpower and limited hours, and, they don't want to be out there forever. So they went back to what they've learned, which is very much common sense. You go to the last known point of where this person was, and you work out from there. So they went to the campground, and they worked out from there, and in 35 minutes, they had the magnet on the car. They found it, like, as soon as they turned their equipment on, it sounds like, from listening to them speak. And then they're trying to downplay it. Oh, no, it took us a half hour. So, they're trying to be polite. They're trying to be respectful. But what's going on here? What? WTF, right? All right, so let's see. Um, that discovery of Kylie, not in Placer County, but in Nevada County, might just be what saved her case from being handled by Wayne Wu from start to finish. Okay? I wouldn't trust this guy with the death of a chipmunk. Would you? What a gross POS. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Too many people like that in positions of power, taking advantages of kids whenever they can. They insert themselves, Boy Scout leaders, children's hospitals, pastors, teachers, whatever. Absolutely disgusting. Like, get a handle on your life, man. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? Like, let these kids be kids. You go do your gross adult stuff with gross adults, okay? Oh, man. It's so sick. But the wrong jurisdiction was a blessing from God. They might not have even known that they were getting into Nevada County jurisdiction. They should have known, because the whole park is Nevada County. Kylie lived in Placer County, which is why the missing persons report came from there, because they didn't know if she almost made it home. They didn't know. So let's focus on another point of conversation. So, the timeline. Back to the timeline. That's your most important element of what you're working with. You just have to run with what you have. So, you take people's accounts and you don't trust any suspect. The first thing you learn in law enforcement is that a suspect is not going to tell you the truth. They're going to lie to you. So you certainly don't buy their first story. You may or may not buy their second story, depending. Again, go back to the Chris Watts case. I don't buy any of his 3 stories. I don't buy it. I don't know what happened, but he's just making it up as he goes. And that's what psychopaths do. They confabulate. They say whatever they need to say to get out of the trouble that they're in at the moment. And they're also really good at figuring out what the answer is. When you ask them a question, well, what did you have on? They're like, well, let's see, I was supposed to be wearing my sweater. So, yeah, I was wearing my sweater. Yeah, that's what it was. They tell you what you want to hear or what they think you want to hear. So, Sammy tried to paint a picture of her friend getting abducted. Get those silly glasses on. Sammy, I think she may have had people incriminate themselves by being involved with whatever went down out there in the woods. Even Mags with the sweatshirt and with the ride. If Mags knew that she was getting Kylie to this party to get confronted by Little Miss Queen Bee, again, I'm not saying facts, I'm just speculating. Just an opinion, may or may not have any relevance. But, the most important thing here is probably what I wanted to skip over because it sounds so crazy. The whole faking their own death. I'm one of those whack jobs that fully believes that Brian Laundrie could have easily faked his own death and had every reason to. And man, talk about getting a jump on that timeline. What, he got like 30-day advance notice to get out of Dodge. So I just hope that people involved don't get ideas from the Brian Laundrie handbook, right? Just go through Chris Watts. Just take all the blame. Say, I did it alone. Nobody there that was helping me. Nobody that knew. It's sad. I appreciate the gravity of the situation. It's awful. I've been near situations with some similarities. It's awful. Awful. I specialize in post-traumatic stress disorder. Trauma is hideous. It's just a word, but living with it, oh man. Anybody with PTSD knows what I'm talking about. There are so many elements of it and so many unexpected and unknown, and nobody's an expert in PTSD, no matter what they say, because it's different for everybody and it is full of surprises. You can get triggered by the color black if, when something bad happened, there was some significant meaning to the color black. So anytime you see black, you might be getting triggered. You might not even know it. Or if you have people that you've experienced traumatic events with, as much as you can be support for each other, you can also trigger each other. These are important things to know. No matter how resolved your trauma is, no matter how long ago it was, no matter how much therapy you've had, and no matter how empowered you've become and how much you've built yourself up, any new trauma kicks up dirt from that old trauma, and it might hit you in a brand new way. You might be telling somebody this story because it's very, very therapeutic to tell people your story. And every time you tell it, you're going to tell it a little bit differently. And every time you tell it, you're going to figure some other part of it out that you had never thought of. And if you don't believe me, try it. It's true. So it's very powerful to tell your story, and it's very healthy to talk about these things. People don't like to talk about it. It makes people uncomfortable. People don't know what to say. People want to fix it. These things can't be fixed, okay? Losing a child, that can't be fixed. All you can do is support somebody. And that's a lot. Just to be there and just to say, hey, I'm here for you. Hey, I care. Hey, I believe you. Hey, you didn't do anything wrong, okay? We all want to believe that there's no victims, that the only people that have bad things happen to them are either bad people or stupid people, drunk people, people that made bad choices. They went into a dark parking lot alone, without a weapon, without a cell phone. We want to say that these things can't happen to us if we're smart, if we make good decisions, and if we're nice and we're good people, we do all kinds of good deeds in our community, then nothing bad will ever happen to us, right? Unfortunately, it's not true. I wish it were. I wish there was ways of preventing horrible things. But the flip side is, with anything horrible comes some gems that you're not going to have any idea are coming your way. And they might be hidden gems, and might be something that is like the least expected. Maybe you're going to make good friends with somebody that you met through this whole process. Maybe you're going to reconnect with an old friend that wouldn't have happened without this process. Things happen for a reason, and that's important. When traumatic events happen, it feels nonsensical, and it's really important to find the meaning. There's like the 5 stages of grief, and that applies to any kind of trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. So your 5 stages of grief, let's see if I can do these off the top of my head. The first one is denial. No. Maybe second one is anger. Third one is bargaining. Fourth one is mourning, sorrow. And the fifth one is acceptance. So the 5 stages of grieving are more like a river than a list. Like, you can swim in and out. You can be in all 5 of them at once. You can go right to the acceptance and stave off anger for 10 years, right? but you will eventually experience all of these. Somebody, I forget the person's name, I think it's a guy, came up with like the 6th stage of grief, which I really like his idea, so I need to research that some more. That's finding meaning in it, prescribing meaning to your story. It's very important to feel like things happen for a reason and it all makes sense, right? So on that, let me wrap this up. Did I say enough about Ryan Upchurch? I love him. I think he's great. I think he's testing his audience. I think he's baiting some people. Like I said earlier with like the texting that guy the picture of Ronnie's shoes with no words, and then the dude is like, "Them's Ronnie's shoes." Oh my God. You know, you don't have to be that smart. It's common sense and it's instinct. Trust your instinct. That's really all we have. Trust yourself. So on that note, now I'm losing my train of thought because I'm wanting to tell everybody about a really good book by Gavin DeBecker called The Gift of Fear. Read it. Read it. If you haven't read it, read it. It teaches you to trust your instinct. It teaches you how to trust your instinct and why to trust your instinct. It's the best tool you have, okay? You're using it all day, every day. You just don't realize it. So sharpening those skills can definitely save your life, and it will save your life, pretty much guaranteed. So, yeah, the thing about Upchurch and these recent things that he said, I hope that he's just baiting his audience, trying to get some criminals to come out of the woodwork and to say, "No, she's real, we know because we gave her the dope," or whatever, right? Whatever. You know, more people that are like, "Yeah, I saw her at the truck stop where the videotape was from. I sold her whatever it was that she bought. Sandwich or something," I think was allegedly what it was. Yeah. I'm sure if you're in Truckee, people are talking and people are afraid to talk, you know, if there's foul play, and it sounds like there's foul play, you could be next. Heck, I could be next, right? But justice and what's right is more important than living in fear. Pay attention to your fear, use your fear to make good choices, and then go forth. So yeah, if I'm upsetting people that are going to come after me, that's terrible, and I hope that they don't. If they do, they'll have to pay the consequences of those crimes too. But I'm not going to live in fear. I'm going to speak up when somebody is getting screwed over, okay? When someone's getting royally screwed over. And what I don't want to see happen, Kylie's family has already lost her. They need to know exactly what happened. Exactly, precisely what went down. Information is healing. Information is power. We are in the information age of technology. Public doesn't need to know, but the family needs to know. They must know. Trying to grieve and recover from something when you don't even know what it is you're grieving and recovering from, you can't. You're stuck. These people deserve the truth. The harsh, unvarnished truth. Whatever it is. Let me say this too. The people, if there's people that did things that they shouldn't have done, if there's wrongdoers, if they get away with it, you can't get away with that stuff. It's going to haunt you forever. People will suicide down the road or do other stupid stuff down the road. Drunk drive, you know. People have a rough time living with stuff, even when they seem cold and calloused. If you tell the truth, if you take your punishment, you can be a better person and move on. That's what people try to do. And we're all figuring it out as we go. We make bad choices. We need to step back, figure out how do we reconcile that? How can we correct that? How can we make amends? Okay, on that note, see you next time. Thanks for watching. How do I do this? Let's see. There we go. I think that